How's it going, everyone? It is Prashan here with Tucker. How is it going, Tucker?
Hey, yo, Prashant and I just survived a hurricane. We are good. It is great to be here with all the homies, like always. It's the best time of the week. Decks to help you guys win the weekend, get that Infinity Avatar, and prep for the new season.
Yeah. We had an OTA yesterday, and it was lackluster. It seems like when they leak, they're a little bit more spicy. When it's not leaked, I guess that's not worth the leak. This was too boring to leak. So the main thing is Hela. Hela is still good. They tried to attack Hela, and then we have a deck that we'll talk about soon too, where basically all the same cards that got buffed are in the same deck coincidentally, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, what do you think about this change, Tucker?
So, I mean, it does punish you more now with Hela if you don't draw Luke Cage, but more often than not, you're like swapping out as many cards as possible anyways. You got the Jubilee to get your Luke Cage, like you have Hellcow to get Luke Cage on the board too. So it feels like it does punish you, like, yes, if you don't draw Luke Cage, but Luke Cage was already in this list, and every time I play Hela, I don't know about you, Prashan, but I feel like they always have Luke Cage.
Yeah, Luke Cage is like out on turn 3. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, whatever. We just have to hope that they don't get Hela, or we can like do some Clog or Eliath, get lucky with Eliath and Eliath a Hela. Just keep priority. But yeah, like I think it's still good. Like Hela is still good. Hela is here to stay. I don't think Hela is gonna go anywhere. Like we have cards coming out soon. I think that will make this card better. But yeah, like I don't know. Hela's okay. It's fine. I think maybe this will force Hela enjoyers to play other decks, but it doesn't seem like it at all, especially since
No.
Hellcow recently got changed. So it's like, all right, like you make things good and then you want to make them bad, but it's still good.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's like post Infinite, Hela's play rate does fall off, and like the win loss drops off. But pre Infinite, Hela is just incredible, and the meta right now is just Hela and Clog. Call it Hela Clog because that literally is all there is right now.
Yeah.
But it's just still good.
And then I called it last week. I said Hella meta and the title of our video, and I got killed for it. So here we go.
Yeah.
For all the doubters. So let's go into some of these decks and see what is good out there in these snap streets. So we're gonna go right into it. Zoo has gone crazy. 57.5% win rate, which is freaking insane. That's pretty good. Like ever since Silver Sable has been added to this deck, it obviously brings value since her power increases, your opponent's power of the top of their deck decreases. We see Cosmo added in here. That saves you from those destroy decks, especially with Killmonger. Yeah, like Gilgamesh is still good ever since he got buffed. Even though Mockingbird keeps on getting changed all the time, she is still good. Dazzler is a surprise card that gains power out of nowhere on last turn, so you definitely have to do math, and so is Ant-Man. So definitely a good deck. And then Marvel Boy, of course, buffing all those one cost cards.
Yeah, and Marvel Boy also, got nerfed. He went from a 3-2 to a 3-1, which isn't. I mean, it's noticeable, but I still think his main purpose was just to get your other one drops more power, and he's totally doing that really well. I think what really is interesting about this list, because there's so much claw going on as well. If you do get rocks on your side of the board, they get Khazar value, they get Mockingbird value, Marvel Boy value. So like overall, you're kind of clogging yourself, so your opponent can't really clog you. But like if you have priority going into this final turn, you're not really worried about Eliath or anything either. It's just an overall just solid list because you're setting out so much power horizontally. They have to contest pretty much 3 lanes in order to win the game.
Yeah, and if someone's playing destroy, like, so what if they Killmonger a few squirrels? You have the Shanna to come up later on to give you more one drops that are even better than the squirrels at times. So yeah, definitely a decent deck.
The Chimera swap for Cosmo is interesting though.
Yeah. I find the Cosmo thing interesting. I've noticed top ranked players are adding Cosmo randomly to their decks, which is, I don't know. It's like for me, I wouldn't personally do it, but for them, I totally understand. Because I would probably forget and play an on reveal in Cosmo Lane and then completely fudge it up and lose the game. So that's why I don't do it.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
And then next we have some old fashioned discard here. What do you think about this list here, Tucker?
So like I love discard. Discard is like my favorite archetype, and I think this list right here is really interesting. You're getting collector value, but you're not using the helicarrier anymore. You're just trying to discard your swarms, your apocalypse, and stuff too to kind of get that value to scale in your lanes. I like this list. I think it's going to get better when Scorn comes out in 3 weeks. But it's just a staple list you can just kind of play. It's very affordable. Most people have most of these cards as well, and and people can swap in what they don't have for some of these other Series 3 cards, which feels really good. But I don't know. I feel like this is good, and like you're hitting your opponent's side of the board with Gambit, so you have something to attack there, and you can also attack their hand with Moon Knight. The value is there. It's just the cube rate isn't great with this list right now because I feel like people aren't snapping necessarily when they have the God Hand.
And next, we have a Darkhawk list. Darkhawk is still pretty good as well, and this helps out against those pesky Hela decks too, especially with like the Clog with the Korg, and the Bog with the Korg and Rock Slide, and then the Clog with Viper. You can bring back over the hood onto their side. It sometimes this deck can bite you in the butt, especially with like Moon Knight and Black Bolt. Like sometimes, like when you're facing those discard decks, you do them a service by doing that. But overall, I think this is pretty good, especially against Airsham decks. They're still out there a little bit. Cassandra Nova has tons of value, and of course, Darkhawk.
Yeah, it feels good against Airsham. It feels bad against Classic Discard, but most people are playing Hela, so you're getting the Moon Knight value, being able to offset that, or you're offsetting their draws and everything with your Korg and with your Rock Slide too. Their Jubilee always pulls a rock instead of anything good, which always feels really solid. I don't feel like a lot of people are playing this list enough. I feel like it does just work well. Even if they discard themselves, that gives you immediate stature value, and like you said, like clogging their side of the board is always helpful. But yeah, Darkhawk's in a good spot. I think we're just not playing it enough, but this list does hit.
Yeah, for sure. And then next we have Galactus. So this is where most of the cards in the OTA got buffed. Cards like Symbiote Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Galactus. All the Galactus fans can rejoice. He's now a 6/6. It's pretty crazy to see a season pass card get buffed so quickly again in Marvel Snap.
Yeah, it's like kind of what happened with Phoenix Force during the Phoenix Force season. They weren't playing the card enough, so they buffed Phoenix Force from a 5/6 to a 4/5. But it is interesting. The Symbiote Spider-Man's getting that extra power, but like we were talking about this earlier too. It's like, yeah, Symbiote Spider-Man got extra power. We love that. But Clog is still a thing, so they're just going to throw a Widow's Kiss or they're going to throw a rock down onto your Symbiote Spider-Man. And I think Prashan was talking about this too. It feels like this list is just telegraphed. So like you can try and set up the combos as much as you want, but people know what you're playing right now. So it just is offsetting. But like you can get enough power to kind of go vertically over the Hela cards, which is good. But in a Clog matchup, it does really stink. But you have destroy cards kind of maybe to offset the Clog stuff.
Yeah, I like the magic in this deck. I think you could prolong the game just in case.
Mm-hmm.
I know with the Black Panther change, now he's a 10 when he goes out on the board if his on reveal goes off, which makes him shangable. But if you put him in one area, you could try to do some deception. You could put him in one spot and then like try to do like Galactus in another, play Green Goblin, Galactus in another, possibly. I think there's some room like for some cheeky wins with this deck, but overall I do think it's like telegraphed. It worked like maybe the first few days of the season and then everyone caught on to it. They're like, oh, enough of this. So I think they try to boost up an old deck, which isn't a feel good deck, especially if Galactus goes off, which is pretty interesting that the Marvel Snap folks decided to do that. But this deck has evolved a little bit. It does have Aranya too. Aranya has some value, I think.
You hit some clips with it.
Yeah. You could definitely clip worthy. This is a clip worthy deck for sure. And then next, we still have Destroy. Destroy overall is still good by itself. I think this is a very solid list. It gives me problems all the time, especially Clog. It gives Clogs problems, and I'm pretty sure this is why this is on the rise. For the most part, you have your Carnage, you have your Deathlock to get rid of those goblins and rocks, and of course Killmonger. Killmonger could take down that zoo, any zoo decks that go around. And then, especially if they're playing Galactus too, you have X-23, you have Wolverine, you have Deadpool, Null, and Death to combat and keep up with it. So overall, Destroy is still good.
Yeah, I think it's good, and you have some other flexible cards too. Like you can put Aranya in here if you don't get the Hulkbuster, get some Deadpool value and stuff. But like Destroy always goes hand in hand with the Clog meta. Gives you extra cards to get death value, like Prashant was saying too. You know, just destroy everything. Oh no, there's a goblin on my side of the board. I'm just gonna carnage it. You know, but no, it feels good, and of course, you know, it's very predictable as well. So if you're setting stuff up, people can really kind of understand what you're doing. So of course, keep that in mind. But it's a good time to climb with Destroy too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Super easy, classic, not expensive deck. Not that many new
Yeah.
cards at all. Like very good. And then next we have Clog. Speaking of Clog here, so this Clog has a 55.1% win rate. I think it's pretty good. I've been playing this list, but instead of Red Hulk, I've been playing Eliath. That way I can take down those Hela decks, especially when you have cards like Debris, you have Viper, Titania. So you clog their side of the board. That way it's more predictable on where their Hela will go, where their Jubilees will go, where their Blinks will go. Because especially with Hela decks, like they have many ways of trying to get Hela. They have Blink and Jubilee. So yeah, overall I think it's pretty good. And then even with Doctor Octopus, like you could pull something they didn't want, or with Cannonball you could bounce it over. So many different ways you could win with this list.
Yeah, when Hell is evil, Clog is evil. So you don't have the Professor X iteration of this list anymore. So you're playing the even more heavy Clog iteration, and it just continues to evolve. And like, there's so many different ways to do it, and it just wins you games. If your opponent can't play cards, you can just kind of really maximize the lanes you're on, and it's just simple as that. But of course, like with this list and stuff too, if you're going to be clogging the board, make sure you snap into doing this so you can maximize your cubes in most of these plays, opposed to just allowing them to retreat for one. Because if you retreat for one against clog, that's pretty much a dub.
Oh yeah, for sure. I try to snap as soon as I have the cards I need.
Yeah.
I snap right away with this list. I was able to get an Infinity ticket with this list, and I think I played against Hela. I played against Destroy. I played against like bad matchups or very meta matchups, and I was still able to get the win. And then next we have Move. Move is still pretty good as well. 54.5% win rate. Like like there's this one has Cosmo in it too, which is to protect your Madam Web, of course. But overall, I think like Move is here to stay. I made a video on Agent Venom. I think Agent Venom is gonna make this OP too. You just take out Heimdall and Eliath and put in some other stuff. I think I had like Falcon and Beast just to bounce stuff back. But yeah, like what are you thinking with Move here, Tucker?
So, like, this is a list that Sizer has been working on for all season. And it's really cool to see how Aranya and Madame Web, you know, of course, you're seeing them in the typical move fashion. But I like the iteration of Cosmo and Eliath. Moving Cosmo off your Madame Web into a lane maybe your opponent wasn't expecting, and potentially even moving it back if you need to with Ghost Spider. I know it's really weird. But like, there's so many different iterations you can win with this list besides just going full into move. If you just have priority, you're just Eliathing. So like predicting where they're going to play stuff to get value there. It feels really cool. Move, of course, we knew was going to be competitive this season, but we didn't think there was going to be other tech cards in your move list to actually alter the flow of the game besides just, turn 6 Heimdall kind of thing. So it's really cool, and it really makes sense on why they did the Taskmaster change now, too, looking at it with how big some of these Human Torches and daggers are getting. So I totally understand that now. But yeah, I like that move is in a solid spot, and you really do have to think with this list and just with move overall to get this win rate and to get this cube rate. But it's really solid. Shout out to the homie Sizer.
Yeah, for sure. Like the Cosmo thing too. You said like moving it
Yep.
to like final turn. That is
Mm-hmm.
pretty crazy too. Like you could definitely get some wins just off of that. Like just imagine if like Hela, they think like their Hela's gonna be played in one lane, but you just put the Cosmo down.
Yep.
Oh, that is super brutal. And it's good to see that people are figuring out move, because
Mm-hmm.
this is a very high win rate for a move deck, which you
Yeah.
wouldn't expect at all. Because like with move, there's such a high learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, we do have the big bad here. We have Hela. This has a 53.5% win rate. I'm pretty sure, yeah, we talked about this last week too. Nothing has changed. Except for Hela. Hela is now a 6/7. She does -3. She afflicts all of your summoned cards with -3, but Luke Cage does Luke Cage things. So it's totally fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, just snap when you have your win conditions. Really, that or people are just gonna retreat when they see Hellcat on the board. Like,
Yeah.
that's just simple as that.
Yeah. If you activate Hell Cow on 5 and snap, I'm pretty sure your opponent is gonna retreat.
Yep.
Like, not like I would just retreat whenever you see that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, I think Professor X has to come back somehow. But I think it's such a dead card at the moment. But I think a good old Professor X and a good old like claw action. But the problem is
Mm-hmm.
like they're both 5 costs. If you were able to play Professor X on 4 before, you play a claw on 5. But that whole interaction is dead. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything you're looking forward to next season? Because this is the last week.
I cannot wait to next season. I know the OTA was lackluster, but I really think this entire season is going to be a promotion of deck building. I feel like some of these cards are like, oh, this card's not going to be good. What are you going to play this card in? And it's just going to take time. And I think when you're looking at card reviews for cards too, wait not just a couple days, wait multiple days and see how the meta settles after cards have been played, after OTAs have happened, before maybe investing. I still think getting the season pass every season is going to be worth it. But I'm excited just to see what can happen here. And it's, the 2-year anniversary of Snap. We might have some cool events and stuff happening too. So very excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of complementary cards
Mm-hmm.
coming. So I think they'll make a bunch of decks and archetypes better going forward. I don't think it's anything like crazy, but like it's going to be interesting to see what people cook up or what the meta shapes into. So that is it for this week. Thank you guys for watching. Till next time, be safe, keep on snapping it. Peace.
Snap.